Hello, my loves. Katie, the Jewish American, here to talk about birthright. And let's even just deal with the name for a second. Unbelievable. So it's my 30th birthday, and I thought today would be a good day to talk about birthright trips, or the trips that diaspora Jewish youth are able to go on to Israel that are fully subsidized. What I mean by this is if you can prove your Jewish heritage, you get a 10-day trip to Israel to travel with other Jewish youth entirely free. And when I say Israel, I do mean the occupied land of Palestine. So birthright in name alone is fucked. Like, it's really problematic, right? Because what it's essentially saying is that these diaspora Jewish youth who have never been to Israel, who may have no family in Israel, have no genetic or ancestral ties to Israel, can decide to go on a trip that says this place is your right by birth. You deserve to be here. You are welcome back. Meanwhile, Palestinians who have been displaced from the land that is currently occupied have no right of return. But that's not even the most disturbing thing about birthright. I think the most disturbing thing about birthright is the explicit goal that birthright has of eugenics. Birthright organizers want diaspora Jewish people to meet Israeli soldiers and go to Israel and fall in love and make Jewish babies and make Israeli babies. And they make this goal explicitly clear. So first of all, in order to go on birthright, you have to be Jewish, and it outlines the criteria for what your Judaism can mean on the birthright website. Second of all, you have to be between the ages of 18 to 26. And why might this be important if the goal is really to get people to reproduce and make Jewish Israeli babies? 18 is the legal age of consent in marriage pretty much globally. Like, that's recognized as something that's true in the United States and abroad. And after 26, the people's reproductive viability begins to change. Birthright is also interested in folks making Aliyah, moving to Israel, and becoming Israeli citizens, which means they have to do conscripted military service for 2 years. So if you have people who are much older than 26, are they going to be a lot of good in terms of, physical fitness after the process of going through this conversion and joining the military? There's something so instrumental about this age limitation. If this were just about people getting to know the beautiful land of Israel, there wouldn't be an upper age limit. And finally, they don't want people to have been to Israel before for any stretch of time, because as Israeli citizens who are anti-Zionist and pro-Palestine know, the longer you stay in Israel, the more questions you have about how this is possible. The more you recognize the occupation, the more insightful you are, and the harder questions you're able to ask people like a tour guide. And birthright trips are intentionally made romantic and exciting. You wake up incredibly early in the morning, you are sleep deprived, and you see these beautiful vistas with other young people who purportedly have your shared values. You are on the trip with young, eligible IDF soldiers. And I remember on my trip, there was this kind of running joke because two of the soldiers clearly had a crush on each other, and people would say to them, no, save yourselves for the Americans. It is so clear that they're trying to sort of woo and seduce us into being interested in moving to Israel, literally seduce us. And so you have these really busy days and you're tired and you're sleep deprived, and then at night they'll be like, oh, go enjoy the nightlife. Take these young American kids out clubbing in Jaffa. Drink with them, show them the party lifestyle of Israel. It'll be very exciting. And if you have to hook up, we don't hate that for you. In fact, they don't hate it so much that for a long time there was this proliferated rumor that if you meet your spouse on birthright, Zionists in Israel will help you pay for your wedding if you have your wedding in Israel. So you're supposed to meet a potential spouse on birthright, fall in love, decide to get married, make Aliyah, and start making Jewish Israeli babies. And the tour guides on these trips are incredibly biased. And I enjoyed my tour guide as a person, but he would talk about Palestinians and use language like terrorists, which was not correct and really offensive. And I would say, do you mean the civilians? Like, what are you talking about when you say terrorists? And he would say, I'm really unbiased because I was a veteran of the Second Lebanon War, as in being a veteran of a conflict was going to make him unbiased, not more biased, which didn't make any sense to me. And so you have these tour guides talking about Palestinians as terrorists in front of young, impressionable 18 to 26-year-old diaspora Jewish youth who know nothing about Palestine, who don't know how to ask questions about the conflict or the genocide or whatever's going on. And it's a brainwashing tactic. And it's so clear when you're on the trip for 1,000 reasons. You'll literally be on the tour buses and the tour guide will say, oh, look, out the window to your right is a beautiful vista of an orchard. And what you're missing out the window to your left are the shanty towns and the run-down, impoverished areas where Arab Israelis live. It's actual sleight of hand of look over here so you don't see what's going on over here. The purpose of birthright trips is to get young diaspora American Jews who don't have critical thinking skills yet about Israel and Palestine to come to Israel, fall in love with the land, fall in love with soldiers, decide to make aliyah, decide to make Jewish Israeli babies, and build up the population and the settler population of Israel. I had girls on my trip fall in love with the Israeli soldiers there and leave their boyfriends of years in order to start dating these men. I had people on my trip absolutely decide to become Israeli citizens after birthright. I myself was taken in, even after taking my classes, which made me so critical of Israel. I was like, well, it doesn't seem terrible here, but I still knew enough to ask the questions. I was definitely a rabble rouser. My tour guide did not like me. I mean, we got along fine, but I pushed him and we debated vociferously in front of the other people on the trip. And I'm aware that this idea that Zionists are going to pay for your wedding or your honeymoon is a myth. It's just a rumor. But birthright works very, very hard to reinscribe the romanticism of meeting a potential spouse or partner in Israel. These are both on the Birthright website. And even though this rumor about getting your wedding or your honeymoon paid for by Birthright is not true, you can go online and find discussion boards where all these different Jewish youth are asking each other, does Birthright pay for your wedding and honeymoon? Because their tour guides told them that it did. All this to say, as I'm turning 30 today, I continue thinking about the rights that people should have inherent at birth. I'm thinking about Palestinians and the right of return, and the right to live safely on the land which your ancestors lived on and to which you are indigenous. I'm thinking about the way that we privilege white diaspora American Jews when we talk about the rights of Israel. I'm thinking about Israel not only as a political Zionist experiment and a nationalist experiment, but a eugenics experiment. And I'm thinking that while I'm turning 30 today, the median age of people in Gaza is 18, the median age of Palestinians are 19, and I hope their next decade of life brings them just that, life, and freedom, and joy, and peace, and good food, and dancing, and all of the pleasure that they are owed in this life. All of the things that should be their rights by birth, and a safe, protected, long-awaited return to their homeland.